It's very funny because you know that question where you are asked when applying for a job and going to the job interview, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Well, I bet you that no person on this planet asked in 2015 where would he see himself in 5 years' time would say, look, I'm seeing myself at home working remotely because we have a pandemic. So basically, yeah, you can try to anticipate, but you also should be prepared for something, for the black swan, because I know it's a very loved concept nowadays, for the black swan, and try to be as flexible as possible.
Acest podcast este prezentat de Noletter.com, o platformă dedicată profesioniștilor mediului juridic. Comunicați cele mai importante documente către instanțele de judecată și organizați-vă activitatea alături de colegi și clienți. Cu Noletter beneficiați de termene de judecată și soluții sincronizate cu portalul instanțelor, dosare stocate în cloud, iar integritatea documentelor poate fi verificată cu ajutorul tehnologiei blockchain. Documentele comunicate către instanțele partenere sunt adăugate automat la dosarul electronic. Aflați mai multe și înregistrați un cont gratuit pe noletter.com, iar ascultătorii podcastului pot obține un discount de 10% din prețul abonamentului Pro folosind voucherul Podcast-10 la plata cu cardul. For those of them wondering why two Romanians have just started speaking in English, it's one of the reasons is that we met each other at a legal hackers conference, let's call it that, and we tried speaking in English at the conference, and we really liked it, and even more so, your blog, which we'll get to talk about in a minute, is also in English. And truth be told, we hope that Richard Susskind will be listening, so who knows?
Yeah, well, basically it's it gives you more openness if you use an international language clearly. And also, well, if we are to talk, I expect we'll be talking about a wide range of subjects, but if we are to talk of legal tech, usually some of the concepts are better used in English than in Romanian, because when you translate them, you kind of get lost in the translation. And yeah, our blog is in English. We wanted it to be this way because we target a regional audience, to say the least. Basically, it's more like an international audience, because what we want to do with the blog is to, discuss about legal tech concepts and the legal tech activity that happens in the Central and Eastern Europe, and to show the outside world that we still have here a very effervescent industry of legal tech, and there are many startups and there are many initiatives that go towards the path that has already been opened by the UK and US specialists. And also we want to educate the people here in the area, because let's face it, at least here in Romania, the education, the legal education is very has some drawbacks, in the sense that you are taught how to be a good lawyer in court or how to be a good corporate lawyer, but you are not very well taught how to think for yourself, how to exercise critical thinking, but not within a specific case. You are encouraged. You are not encouraged to think outside the box when it comes to how to deliver the legal services, or how to engage with other professionals. Because another thing that lacks here, the education in Romania lacks, is when you graduate law school, you don't have only 3 or 4 options as a graduate. You should be told from the very beginning that you have more options. And now with the pandemic, we have already seen how the job market is constantly changing, and the change and the speed is exceeding nowadays, and there are already jobs that are at peril. And this is one aspect that maybe should be more emphasized when talking to students. So basically, that's what we wanted to do with the blog. We wanted to show people that there are other options. It's okay to be inquisitive. It's okay to ask sometimes uncomfortable questions, such as why do we do this like this? And usually the answer is because we have been doing this. We have been doing things like this for a long time, which is, one of the major fallacies when it comes to legal industry. And nowadays we are just trying to show that there are more skills to have as a lawyer mainly, but also as a legal professional. There are some jobs that now are infusing the legal market, and you should be on the lookout for them. And also that you have to have a certain mindset, because you will not be able to innovate the legal industry, and we will be forced with the necessity to innovate if you don't understand that your mindset that you had when you graduate should be shifted. You should have what is called nowadays a growth mindset. You should actually be aware that twice a year, you should undergo some courses, some master classes, some know-how development initiative, or however you want to call it, that would help you boost your pre-existing skills and would help you acquire new ones. And actually, it's not me saying that. There are many studies that now emphasize that the necessity to reinvent yourself is now more acute than ever. Awesome.
You'll do an amazing job podcasting, because you have such a cool fluidity in your speech. So you touched a few topics actually that I want to address in this talk, in this episode. One of them being a thing that I've just recently come across, like literally 3 minutes ago on Facebook, before we entered this chat. You talked about the fact that the legal professions have started to open up. There are more and more roles, not just being a lawyer in the legal domain, but all sorts of jobs for people coming out of law school. And one of the more popular ones is a data privacy officer, a DPO. And just recently I saw that there is an attempt to, or an initiative to formalize this into law in our country as well. I don't want to really dive into this really specific one, but let's talk about the fact that being a lawyer is not the only option in today's world.
Absolutely not. And you are right that now the DPO is full thrusters, but that's mainly because of the legislation. That's very interesting, and you touched upon this. It's been probably 2 years, kind of like this, since the GDPR entered into force. And already, yes, the DPO is one of the main jobs you can have as a lawyer, or as a law student graduate, to say the least. But nowadays, the personal data is not the only thing that is flooding the market. You also have data in general, and you have the data processor, and you have, because there is legal data, you have legal data processor or legal data scientist. And by this, for example, you have court cases. Yeah, a client comes to you and asks, look, I have this case. What are my chances of winning? What should I do? Should I go and enter an agreement with the other party and settle the issue right now, or just go to court? What are my chances of winning in court? If I settle with the other party, what sum of money should I be requiring? Well, for this, if you have some data to back up your legal advice, and you can peruse the whole database of court cases, and also the database of other agreements, the parties' agreement that they enter into, you could be pretty accurate when you answer your client, and that would boost your business, because this is helpful not only for big law firms, but it is more extraordinary if you can do that as a solo practitioner or in a boutique type of firm. So this is just one job, but what I'm really interested in, actually, as it happens now, I'm I'm researching on this for some other for other materials, is the job of legal designer. So basically, legal design is something that comes from design thinking, that way of reinventing things, or actually that mindset, that mentality of, okay, we have a problem, let's take a blank piece of paper, let's take a pencil and brainstorm whatever we want to achieve, regardless of how stupid some ideas are, no matter, we just want to throw everything there. And then we're gonna peruse it and maybe decide and put some hierarchy between them. And from this legal design, from this design thinking, it's a school. It originates in Stanford. The legal design came at one point, also originated at Stanford Law School. And basically what the legal designers do is to rethink and reimagine the legal services. And just one example, the woman that actually started this trend, her name is Margaret Hagan, and she's actually a very nice person in a way of how she explains the concepts. So she had multiple social projects, one of them being how to re-educate the inmates, because it happening in America. There are some hotspots of criminal activity, just like in Romania as well, and we already know that from our law school studies, especially those in criminal law. The chances of an inmate, of a convicted, to do the same mistakes, to become once again a criminal, are really high. Actually, are direct proportional with how much time that person sits in a detention center. What she tried to do was to, let's try to educate those people. Let's make the judicial system more close to their hearts. Let's ask them, okay, when you get out of this, presuming that you're not on a death row, what do you want to see the society be like? What do you want the society to treat you like? Do you want to have a special program for you? Do you want to have some, I don't know, social inclusive program? Do you want to go to after, I don't know, night school or something like this? And those guys that they were the main, let's say, customers, the main users of these solutions, they came with the idea. There were many ideas, and some of those ideas came to fruition, were put into practice, and the percentage of people being criminal again after already serving their time in jail went down, because society understood those people needed some understanding from its part, and those people were very involved in the solution that actually they were the main beneficiary of them. So basically, this is what legal design does: rethinking and reinventing. But you can use that for many other projects and activities. For example, when you have to provide legal advice to someone, usually what you do is the partner goes into a meeting with the client, sometimes takes the senior associate or the junior with him, sometimes he does not, then comes back to the office, has a very short meeting with the junior associate or with the associate or whatever, and then each of these parties understands something different from what the client actually wants. And this is not necessarily limited to the law practice, but this happens, and it's been so many times I've seen that in practice. The client wants something, you as a junior or you as an associate understand something totally different, not necessarily of a fault of your own. And when you deliver, the client looks at it and asks, what is that? I did not want that. And you spend like half a day, one full day working on something I'm not willing to pay. So what the legal design does is, okay, let's rethink how we do that. Let's have an online conference call. Let's take the junior with us. Let's, I don't know, record the meeting. Let's brainstorm. When the partner comes into the office, let's not leave him dictate whatever he wants to achieve. Let the junior have his input. So there are so many applications for this tool. It's basically a tool, but it's also a procedure. People do not actually know about what it means to reinvent the law. But again, I think we kind of went far away from the subject. Basically, there are many jobs that are requested nowadays. Now with the ascent of technology and the necessity to use it, because if it was some exotic animal maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, now it is a must. And like I explained at one point in the conference we both attended, the necessity to be more effective and to be more user-centered, it does not necessarily come from the offerer of the legal services, in our case the law firms. It usually comes from the receiver, from the client, and because they work with other suppliers or other business partners that have probably different type of or actually they're more efficient in general. They have at their disposal, they have technology, I wouldn't go as far as saying they have AI. I don't think this is a must, and we shouldn't be so obsessed with the artificial intelligence. You can do many things in legal services, in a law firm, without the AI, just using some very basic code, just using some very basic applications, and being open-minded. Basically, that's the thing. And because you have technology, you'll have to have a legal technologist, you'll have to have a legal engineer, and so on. So we are discussing about these jobs on our blog, and basically that is what we were trying to educate people. Look, we have many other options. Just because you didn't get into the bar, you just passed the bar exam, that's not the end of the world. If you did, congratulations, but you still have so many other options. And at one point, you might be forced to think of other options because, well, the industry is changing, the job market is changing, there are some tectonic shifts now, and we cannot anticipate them. It's very funny because you know that question where you are asked when applying for a job and going to the job interview, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Well, I bet you that no person on this planet asked in 2015 where would he see himself in 5 years' time would say, look, I'm seeing myself at home working remotely because we have a pandemic. So basically, you can try to anticipate, but you also should be prepared for something, for the black swan, because I know it's a very loved concept nowadays, for the black swan, and try to be as flexible as possible.
Awesome. So I almost want to go back a bit to the legal design aspect that you touched upon, but before I do that, let's go back a bit, because I found it really interesting when we were designing, I guess, Noletter. Sorry for just putting that out there.
No worries.
So abruptly,
let's put the marketing there.
But we were faced with the strange choice of putting the real world, let's call it, I guess, into tech, like finding a tech way to make the way in which the legal system operated at the time, and still basically does, in a more efficient way using technology. Although we could have rethought the whole concept, if that makes any sense, with the technology that was available. So there's a difference between putting the real world into tech speech and into tech solutions, and finding tech solutions that basically don't resemble anything from the procedures that are found in today's legal world. So how do we balance that, knowing as well that the legal system is a really rigid one and that is quite opposed to change? And so how does the legal designer, juggle these types of scenarios? Because I'm personally really interested in this.
Well, basically, you have to have the mentality of a chef. You know how a chef puts different ingredients in
sure.
one. Actually, it is a thing. I'm not inventing it.
Yeah, sure,
although
sure.
I wish I have.
No, I'm happy to get such a cool response. It's quite original, I guess.
Okay, so basically, you know how a chef puts all those ingredients in a food, but it has to be very, very careful on the balance.
Sure.
If you put too much salt, it's going to be salty. If you put too much vinegar, it's going to be, vinegary, whatever. But the thing is, it has to have enough balance. And the sense of balance, you have to know very well what you want to achieve. But you have to have that tendency to innovate. Maybe if you put a little flour, eatable flour, hopefully, on the piece of whatever you want to eat, it looks prettier, and the customer is going to be happy. If you add some interesting herb that complements the dish, maybe that would be well received. So that's how that haute couture cuisine came to fruition, because I don't think the French chefs in the 1700s or something were experimenting with other types of food, those exquisite types of food. But it came from necessity, and it came from juggling, like you said, playfulness. So you have to know the balance. You have to be able to innovate, but always have to have in mind the customer, because in the end, you have to think back. You have to create. Did I freeze?
Yeah, for a bit, but you're back. You're back.
So you have to build your business from the client onwards, not vice versa. So a legal designer would probably tell you that. Basically, focus on what your client wants to do. Don't try to over-innovate. Don't try to bring AI or machine learning or natural language processing if you don't need that. Put a very simple app, put a very simple engine behind your solution, and try to get one step at a time. Don't try to disrupt. When you say some people overuse this word, let's disrupt the industry. Usually that scares people.
Yeah,
people
of course.
Like comfort. They like the known, because usually the unknown would be the thing that would kill them. In the prehistoric ages, you would probably want to stay in the cave and not venture outside, because a saber-toothed tiger might come and feast on you. So basically, you want to have the comfort, but also you want to push things forward. So what a legal designer would probably suggest, or would probably do, would be, let's use what we have now and see how we can, play with some Lego pieces, like with a jigsaw. Innovate. If we need to add something very extraordinary, we would. But first of all, let's have a prototype. Let's have it tested. Let's see what people think of it, and then go into production. Never ever. And this is actually some mistake I did at one point. Actually, we did with the blog. We overthought some pieces. We tried to anticipate what the readers might like, without putting very much thinking in what the reader actually wants from us. Do they want a 3,000 words article? Do they want a very short snippet that they could peruse and read while commuting? So basically, what is in the end, and as a, let's say, baseline, legal design is actually design applied to the legal industry. So as a design-backed tool, you would think of the customer first, and then on how you want to innovate with your ideas. Yeah, clearly, there are exceptions to this rule.
Apple.
You have an Elon Musk. Sorry?
Apple. Yeah, Apple doesn't listen what their clients want, and they seem to be doing quite well.
Steve Jobs did said that the clients do not know what they want. We will tell them what they want, and they will buy this. This might work, but this is Russian roulette sometimes. Yeah. Also, you have Elon Musk with his very exotic ideas, which seem to pay off. He does indeed push the humanity forward, but as a backstory, there were multiple instances in which his companies were very, very they were on the brink of bankrupt. Usually, the Tesla actually had so many problems in the past just because this. So it's just how you want. If you are, the thing is, if you have the first. Actually, this is my personal view, so I'm not building on someone else's idea. But if you have, this is your first startup, your first idea, do not try to change the world too much. Try to build something that brings sure revenue and has enough margin for you to be able to feel comfortable. When you already have some assets behind you, then you can maybe think of innovating with the first startup, with the first product, or maybe starting something new. And actually, that's the case of Elon Musk. He already had the PayPal and other startups. So basically, baseline, always think from the customer's perspective and always go to them and ask their feedback. This is a very important lesson that we learned in the process, but now is very well learned. Always ask, including for the logo, for example, working on some other projects independent of the blog. We started working on the logo and then asking people, look, what do you think about it? Do you think it's memorable? Do you think it will, catch your attention, catch your eye? Maybe not. Why? Don't you like the color? Don't you like the shape? Stuff like that, because you need those people, because those people are the ones that will eventually buy your product. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, sure. No, you gave me a lot of homework to do, I guess. So okay. Talking about the blog, you guys have a huge series on this. Wow, that sounded weird. Future-proof legal, #future-proof legal. And your talk there about not only the new roles that I guess law graduates and the people working in the legal industry are starting to have and to create, but also about the skills that they need to have, acquire, and develop to better fit in those roles and better fit the needs of their clients. Let's go through a few of these skills that they need to acquire, and maybe we could start with one that really caught my eye, and it's called negative. What was it called? Negative capability. I wrote it down here. Yes. Yeah, negative capability. That was really curious, and I think it's fitting for the times that we live in as well.
Well, it kind of emerged from these times. Carolina has felt the need to write about this just with the beginning of the pandemic. And usually, it says be prepared for whatever might happen. Don't be put down by it. And, the uncertainty, like I said, is very discomforting. And you feel very, you want to repel whatever you
try to fight it.
You try to fight whatever does not feel like it fits in your
narrative
way of thinking, narrative and way of thinking the world. And basically, this skill is something we should all have. Actually, we should all develop, because it will help us to navigate the very unfriendly waters that might wait us ahead. So it happened. Actually, it came from the ascent of the pandemic, but it speaks volumes of where this industry and where the world heads on. Things are not going to be very, let's say, familiar then clearly in the far future, and probably in the very 5 years or something like this.
Mm-hmm. So what would be, in your opinion at least, because you mentioned there are quite a lot of skills that let's say alternative legal service providers should have, what would be the ones that you see lawyers in particular lacking? What would be the areas that you think should be focused on as readily as possible?
I would say legal design. For the reason I already mentioned, we tend to do things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
First, because this is how we were taught in high school, in school, etc. Second, because this is the company's policy and you cannot override it. Third, because you do not want to be that weirdo who comes up with very weird ideas and do not want to, lose face before your boss. So legal design, in my opinion, is very important, and lawyers still need to understand its importance first and foremost, and then try to. It's not rocket science, really. It's just you have to read a lot and to be open-minded and say, look, we can do this thing differently, and we should, because this might bring some revenue. And usually have to prepare a very well reasoned plan to go to the management, because with the management it's always about the money. So if you can prove that this might come in handy, you might convince them. Another skill would be clearly negative capability, because this is another problem. Actually, this is one of the main reasons innovation in law firm is not similar to what you would see in tech companies, for example, because usually the law firm is not owned by the same person who has the more shares, or actually is the main stakeholder in the company. Usually there are some partners who are named there for a period or not, maybe until they retire, or maybe for a limited period of time. But usually the profit is split between the shareholders on a yearly basis. And if you want to invest in technology, in legal technology, you should expect that the return on investment for that initiative would be seen in like 3 years' time, probably. And for this reason, many law firms avoid investing in legal tech operations capability solutions. Clearly, there are so many cases, and respectable law firms have started to and have opened the gate for this type of initiatives. But nonetheless, there are so many of them reluctant. Another skill would be probably critical thinking, because yes, we think critically about a law provision, we think critically about whatever the judge might decide, or we think critically of what the other party put forth as an argument, but we do not think critically about where this industry is going in the end. Do we feel comfortable working in a behemoth corporation that is not necessarily aligned with our values? Do we want to direct this law firm to another path? And also, again, for me, from my perspective, every skill is important, but the last one I would probably mention would be media literacy. Mm-hmm. And this actually, I think everyone needs to have media literacy nowadays, because not giving any names and not providing any public people identification details, but as of 2016, probably, the ascent of fake news and of alternative facts has been more felt than ever. Now, everyone has a smartphone, or almost everyone has a smartphone, but everyone has an opinion. And that's the thing, the Greek had a very interesting name for the people who have opinions for everything, and that means not all of them are well substantiated, but nonetheless, the thing is, we should understand that now everyone can write on the internet. We write on the internet, and we do not necessarily have a certificate from Bucharest Bar attesting that we are entitled to write. and you should be very, very careful with the content you are reading. You should always have in mind that, sorry, I'm the proud mother of these guys. and now they're coming here, and they're, I don't know if you can see them, but they're here. And you should always take into consideration that some news and some materials serve one interest or another, and basically you should, like the English people say, take everything with a pinch of salt, and understand that some ideas are not fact checked. That's why probably now Twitter has started to implement that mechanism of fact checking everything some people say on Twitter. And also fake news phenomenon is it's like a plague nowadays. Everyone shares information without checking the validity of that fact, and that sometimes amounts to mass panic, sometimes amounts to conspiracy theories, and sometimes just plays down some very important problems of the globe, such as the current virus that is ravaging the planet. So basically, yeah, those are some skills that I see very important, but clearly there are many more to add actually to our list itself. This is something we came up, but we are always updating on a daily basis. If someone was, I don't know if someone was interested enough, but if you would be interested enough to see the list when we started the series, and it was at the beginning of this year, you see that there are some changes that have been operated in the list. Just because things are changing, and we are the first to recognize it. Actually, the like I said, actually I think we just touched upon this. We plan to write a book based on this legal future-proof legal, in which we discuss about the skills and the jobs and the mindset you should have, because they usually come hand in hand. And we actually are very aware that we might have to update that material, because things are changing on a daily basis almost.
And I will be listening to the audio version of that book
while driving to the office.
Of course. So regarding a subject, you mentioned the fact that we need to be really aware of the content that we're consuming. And I couldn't be more in agreement with this, and all the stuff that's put out nowadays. You have to really know how to Google and filter and all that. But as well, I would like to know your opinion, and I touched upon this topic with Anna from Avoteca a lot. What about the content that we're putting out? Because as legal professionals, lawyers in particular, our statute, our legal, the way that the laws surrounding our profession are built, don't really give us the flexibility to be so, out there. And I really I'm not in agreement with this. I sort of anticipate your opinion, I think, but I'm really curious about your opinion on this topic as well, because I think it's really important for the legal profession as well to have a voice, and a natural voice and an approachable voice, not just a professional, let's talk about our internal stuff among us type of voice, but a voice that can be heard about, people in general.
So you're saying what lawyers should be writing about other than some legal issues?
Exactly. How should lawyers comport themselves on the internet, I guess, is the broadest way I could frame the question.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are clearly platforms, just like you said, for professional content, and they are well known. There are some people who have started writing about their hobbies. They're I don't know, maybe some of them take up photography, or I don't know, activism, climate activism, or whatever. But yeah, you do have a standard of integrity and morality and ethics that you should abide by, even on your personal Facebook profile. I mean,
Sure.
I'm well aware of that, and I'm very... for example, I have a personal page personal Facebook page, but I also have a page for my my law office on Facebook and on LinkedIn and other platforms. And I always try to clearly separate the content and be very careful what I post on whatever I choose to. But I always have this in mind. You are intrinsically linked to your profession. So you always have to be very careful what causes you mitigate for or whatever you want to, I don't know, protest or whatever. And I think indeed what I've seen, not intending to judge anyone because I am probably not in the position to do that, but what I've seen, I haven't seen many lawyers here in Romania at least taking up this social part of the profession. Look, I am a lawyer, for example, okay, so, and I'm very interested in climate change, in climate problems. I'm very interested in animal welfare. I'm very interested in science, and I constantly share things, the articles and materials that touch upon those subjects. Clearly, always fact checking them. I mean, this is one thing that sticks to you when you see the amount of fake news. But yeah, I think as a lawyer you should try. Indeed, the legislation that governs our profession is quite rigid, but it does not stop you from having a voice. And as a lawyer, you have a voice, and people usually listen to you. I mean, I always like to do this. My inside, I know most fun joke and usually when I'm in a context with other friends, and I usually do not say that I'm a lawyer. And I meet someone new and I'll let them talk about whatever they want. And sometimes they say lawyers are, liars, and they would do anything for money. And actually let them continue on this, because sometimes they are right. And when I say at one point, look, I am a lawyer. If you want to help me, if you want my help, I can help you. But if you want for something else, I can direct you to another colleague of mine, because it's something I strongly think we should all do. We should not hate each other. We should not cannibalize each other. We are in this spot together and we have the same struggles. Why, if I'm not good, for example, at one area, I would clearly direct the person, the respective person, to another colleague of mine who I know is very good. And usually people, when I say I'm a lawyer, they're always very attentive to whatever I'm saying. So basically, yeah, as socially speaking, the legal professions, all of them, the classical ones, if you want, are well respected in society, and we have a voice, and we should. I know it sounds cliche, but yeah, we do have a voice, and we should use it for a greater good. Clearly, I'm not saying that we should all now start encouraging all types of movements, of social movements, but if you feel like it, go do it. But also, I think we should be very attentive of the opinions we put out there, most importantly. If it's something that is disputable, if it's something that is, is not fact-checked, if it's something that might affect thousands of people, actually just one person is sufficient, then you should think twice before putting your opinion out there. But other than that, I think it's our duty, in fact, as social servants, if we want, it's our duty to use our influence in the society as better as we can.
Awesome. I really appreciate your answer, and I think it's quite balanced and quite well put. So remaining or touching upon a thing, maybe I should have asked you at the beginning of our talk, but how did you come to the, I guess, conclusion that you want to become a lawyer, and how was that journey from being a lawyer to starting your blog and basically going on the, I guess, more entrepreneurial route?
Oh, how much time do you have?
We have all the time in the world, like literally.
Well, let's start from the beginning.
Awesome. As far back as you can take me, I'll go with you.
I think I just can go as far as the moment I was born. I do not believe in reincarnation. I thought it was really cool.
Sure.
So basically, as a child, I wanted to be an astronaut first.
Awesome.
Then for some, and this really still sticks to me. I mean, I also still obsessed, although I don't have a physics or necessarily math background, but I'm still obsessed by astrophysics and physics in general and whatever is out there in the big cold universe. Then for a very brief moment, I wanted to be a car mechanic. I really do not know why. I think it was the influence of my cousin, because he was a boy and I would be looking up to him and something. And then for a very long period of time, I wanted to be an Egyptologist.
Okay.
And I would dream of discovering another tomb like Carter did with Tutankhamun, and I would dream of going to Egypt and digging to the Valley of the Kings and etc. Then in the seventh, when I was in 7th grade, I started watching animes. I think we already discussed about this.
No, we haven't. We're going to touch upon them a lot more, so get ready.
On the record, yes.
Yeah.
And I got really obsessed with Japan. Everything that has to do with Japan, from the writing and music and clothing and food and everything. And I wanted actually to be a Japanese archaeologist, something like that.
Right.
Naturally, because you can see I have this history obsession. I think it came from my father. My dad is a math teacher, but he also loved history very much, and he managed to put that into my DNA and say, look, do something with it. And I did. In high school, I would participate in those national competitions, we call it Olympiade.
Sure.
And I would participate, and I would be always there, proudly representing my high school. And in the 11th grade, I had some frustrations and deceptions, especially because of the national competition. And just out of the blue, I just decided I want to be a lawyer. It was like a flash moment. I don't really think I thought it very well through, but afterwards I was trying to rationalize it. I was thinking, okay, I think I would do some decent amount of money. Actually, as a parenthesis, my parents were really relieved, because they were really scared that I would end up digging holes in Egypt. So when I told them I want to be a lawyer, they would say, oh, thank God, she's not going to be safe and in an office, and she's going to be decent, not covered in dirt. And that's how I ended up applying for the law faculty here in Bucharest. And then I wanted to become a lawyer. I think it was a very brief moment in my first year when I was thinking about becoming a judge. But then I would just reconsider, and I would think, look, this is something I always wanted to have enough freedom to do whatever I want, to have whatever opinion I want to have, clearly within some boundaries. We also have here one cat. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I saw her here.
So yeah, they're frolicking around here. So yeah, then I wanted to be a lawyer. And I was for 5 years. And then at one point in 2019, I attended this absolutely incredible experience. It was a summer program in legal technology and operations. It was organized, actually it still is organized by Puteți Law School. It's in Hamburg, Germany. And that kind of opened another dimension for me. I was already kind of flirting with legal tech, in the sense I was reading articles, because, I clearly applied because I wanted to go there and learn about legal tech. But this experience, opened my perspective. I met new people, including my co-editor-in-chief and co-founder of the blog, Carolina. I had the honor of meeting really big names in the legal industry, and actually Margaret Hagan, the one I told you about with the legal design, she didn't attend. She was our, let's say, tutor, professor, or something like this. She didn't come in person, but we had one course with her. And I understood that there are so many other options as a lawyer, as a legal professional in general. And I think that's what crabs feel when they want to grow when the shell is too small for them. I was just feeling like I have so many things to do. It's fun to be a lawyer, but I feel that I can make a difference otherwise. And then this year I started my own law practice. And thinking, I was kind of, again, somewhere in the back of my head, the idea of entrepreneurship was already there, has been planted probably in Puteți, but I'm not sure. And I was look, this is a blank canvas for me. I can do whatever I want. I can have whatever direction I want to have for my law office. I can have whatever direction I have in life. Let's experiment. And actually, that's as it happens, we are already working, but we are in a very incipient stage with 2 legal tech projects. There are going to be actual solutions, so we are writing on the blog, but there are some solutions that we're preparing. Will probably be live next year. I also discovered that I like to write a lot. I also discovered that I like to talk, like we do right now. And that's, as it happens, that created the idea of the blog, which is actually already 1 year old. It starts walking already by now. I think it already has started to talk a little.
It's talking all right. It
really?
is.
That's a very nice feedback. You can continue. And also, we're already working as a separate project on some courses. So basically, I'm having a blast, to be honest.
Awesome.
For the first time in my life, I think I'm really looking forward to starting the working day. I've been recently 4 days, let's say, holiday. However, you can have a holiday during a pandemic, but let's call it. I was in the Danube Delta, which was absolutely amazing. Although it was freakishly cold, but it was amazing. And I was working during that period for some moments. Because, when you are very passionate about something, you do not have the concept of, I have a program from 9 to 5 and that's it. And then I go home and I do whatever I want. For me, the work is something intertwined with my free time. When my free time, I'm researching for the work and etc. So basically, that is in a nutshell how I ended up being an entrepreneur and also being a blog editor.
Yeah, I was stalking you in the Danube, researching you, on Instagram for this talk.
Okay.
So you mentioned Carolina.
I strongly recommend it,
So you were talking about Carolina. I think it would be cool if you could tell us, I guess, the people that want to find a partner. How did you find Carolina, and how did you guys manage to form a partnership and I guess embark on this journey together? Especially, I think Carolina is not from Romania, right?
She's from Poland. Yeah.
Awesome.
She lives in Warsaw now. We met at the summer program I told you about, the Puteți Law School. We had because the program was for 3 weeks, and we have had so many group projects. And at the end, how it would be graded was to prepare a capstone project, which was like the pinnacle of your experience there. And I was, among other people, I was in the same team with Carolina, but in the meantime, we were already discussing that we are from the same region. No one knows about the Central and Eastern Europe. She knows many people from outside the region, especially Americans and the English people that say, she already studied in English for some time, that say that Europe actually ends in Germany, and after Germany you just have something Asia. And what we wanted to do, look, we have many initiatives. We have the entire region is very, I wouldn't say atomized, but still has, there are differences within the region. We have the Baltics, which are very advanced. We have Poland. The country is also very advanced in terms of innovation in general. And the Baltics are very advanced in terms of digitalization. You have Romania, which is well known for fast internet, probably the best IT guys and hackers in the whole world, apart from the Russians and Ukrainians. So we have those differences, and we were thinking maybe we should be getting together and have something. And we both love to write. Let's try writing a blog. And then things kind of escalated in a way that after months of discussions and back and forth, we managed to come up with the concept. As it happens, before attending the Puteți program, myself, my boyfriend, and a friend of mine, we were already thinking of another legal tech project. It is still called Legal Upgrade, but now it's kind of frozen because we still have to think some things through and have to check some boxes before actually launching the project. So the base was already there, the bricks were already laid, and the discussion, Carolina, came as a way of reinforcing my opinion that we can actually do something in this region. And then we discussed online. We have weekly calls. Actually, I'm having a call today with her when we discuss many things about the projects, and we organize what we have to do. We split the tasks, etc. So there are different ways in which you can get a partner. You can have this serendipity moment in which you encounter someone and you're like, oh, you too, nice. Can also have people that actually reach out to you and see what you're doing and think, look, we should maybe partner and have some work on some projects together. You would be the one approaching, but it basically, I think it all comes down to networking, and this is one other skill we were talking about on the blog. Be it in person. I personally prefer it in person, and as a parenthesis, I prefer in campus programs as opposed to online programs. I actually attended an online program this year organized by Santa Maria di Pisa University, which is absolutely amazing about AI and robotics. But being online, you don't have the same, let's say, the same possibilities to network as you would have in campus, because you would grab a cup of coffee or something and just get into discussion with someone else. But online is more stiff. You really do not see faces. First of all, you see the teachers, the tutors, and that's basically it. You do not see your fellow students, and that doesn't really help with the networking. So basically, you just have to play your card very well, networking wise, and be on a lookout. Know how to. I mean, I can give some tips if you want in terms of professional networking.
Sure.
Clearly have a LinkedIn account. Twitter maybe helps sometimes, but Twitter is like a tsunami. You just cannot cope with the volume of data, and I don't know what's happening there. Have a LinkedIn account. Follow some things that you're interested in, hashtags, pages, authorities, universities, programs, people. And then see what they're doing, see what they're writing about, see what events they are promoting or they are organizing, and try to reach out to them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, it's like, it's just chance, basically. And, a bit of luck and lots of openness from both parts. I talked to so many people around the globe whom I haven't met in person, but who have seen our blog, or actually I would approach them because I loved what they were doing, and I would just put a shout out there and would say, look, I absolutely think you're doing great. Maybe you get in touch sometimes if you're ever here in Romania. Maybe let's grab a cup of coffee in a safe, socially distancing way. So basically,
2 cups of coffee, one for me and one for you.
Yeah, I want to go in the park.
There you go.
Yeah, but so basically it all comes down to networking and be a very good communicator, which is something you should learn. I mean, I'm not a born communicator. I had to learn how to speak my mind. Sometimes I'm not doing a very good job at it, but at least I'm trying. Give me at least a heads up for that. So yeah, basically it's you have to put a lot of effort to reach out to people all over the globe. It's not simple. It's kind of complicated sometimes, and there are the cultural, let's say, walls, but they're not insurmountable.
I don't want to miss this opportunity. Can you give me a LinkedIn 101? How do you link in? How do you do LinkedIn? Because I feel that I'm really lacking in this part of the social media world. I think it's just starting to trend a bit in Romania, or it was. I don't know. It might be just me not paying enough attention to it. But I know it's really trending in the rest of the globe, and it's really starting to evolve into the old Facebook type of scenario and algorithm. So I'm really, again, personally curious about how it works and how do you make the most of it.
It's funny because the exact conversation I had with Carolina when we clearly had our social media policy, let's say, or strategy, way better. And she was always insisting, look, let's target LinkedIn people, real people we want to approach are on LinkedIn. And I would say, look, maybe that's in the rest of the world, but in Romania, people are on Facebook.
Yeah.
Me, my mother, my aunt, my uncle, my teacher from the university, my colleague from the university. So basically, if you want to target people in Romania, you have to have a Facebook presence, a foot in this platform. As for LinkedIn, you have to follow lots, and actually it's follow. You have to follow lots of interesting conversation, lots of people. Send them invitations, send them to connect, basically. Get in touch with them sometimes. Post. You have to be at least you have to have some degree of visibility.
Do you DM people? Do you DM people? Sorry? Do you DM people? Like on Facebook, you don't really message people unless it's like a really, I don't know, you want to have that exact conversation. But on Instagram, for example, I know that you would DM people like, you could even have like a draft that you send to a lot of your contacts, or at least I know people that do, and we do a bit of this as well. But I don't know, do you do that on LinkedIn as well? I know I receive quite a lot of standardized, what feels like a standardized message from certain LinkedIn users.
Yeah. I did receive and received standard type of communications, but I also received, and I'm also sending as a blog and as an individual, I'm sending messages to people that I want to get in touch with.
Personalized messages, you mean?
Sure.
Nice.
Apart from congratulations on your work anniversary,
I see.
That's the standard one. And usually it's a good thing to have people in your loop. But also to, for example, sometimes sending an article I found interesting to someone on LinkedIn that I know personally, and I have a pretty good relationship with them, so I'm not intruding. And actually, to be honest, not to brag about it, but I had the audacity of sending a connection invitation to some pretty up there people, including Mr. Soskin and Mr. Cohen. I mean, and they're really nice people. They would just accept my invitation. They didn't have any problems. So basically, you have to be a little bold, I guess. And again, as a business, you have to post a lot on LinkedIn for people to notice you. You have the analytics behind the post, so you can see how many people engaged with your article, with your post actually. Again, we did sometimes send messages to some people we wanted to maybe collaborate with for a project, or maybe we wanted a very honest opinion. We are writing this article. Maybe it's a little out there. What do you think? Do you think we should tune it down? Do you want to, for example, we wanted to have some interviews with some people, especially from the Puteți Law School, and some of them were actually pretty nice and said, okay, sure, no problem. So yeah, awesome. It all comes down. It's actually science. There are courses of social media
literacy
strategies.
Basically.
Yeah, and if you're interested, you could, and they are everywhere. I'm honestly not, and I'm not kidding you. They're everywhere. I did undertake. I don't think I finished it, but I think I did undertake some of them. But just they're not rocket science. And for example, LinkedIn has this very cool thing that they have like how to use manual for them. You have somewhere, I do not know, I cannot pinpoint it right now where you can find it, but there are some tips and tricks on how to create something, how to write more engagingly, how to DM people, for example, who you do not know, and something like this. So it's all comes down to lots of research and lots of time spent with your eyes on the screen.
So how about Twitter? Not how to use Twitter, but why do you think it didn't really catch the attention of Romania? And I don't know about the rest of Central and Eastern Europe, but I'm not sure it has really much of a presence in this region as well. In America, and I don't know, in Canada even. Twitter is in like America, the place to be. Twitter, So what happened?
I think it was not so well known. Twitter is not that visually appealing to people like is Facebook or Instagram. And basically what Twitter is, actually my boyfriend always makes fun of me because, well, I'm not very engaging on Twitter, but I still do sometimes post, and he makes fun of me, saying that I'm probably one of the 10 people in Romania using Twitter. So if anything would happen to us in a car accident, for example, all the Twitter income in Romania would be lost. Again, it's more about opinions. You have that limit of characters you can use in a Twitter, which is very. This is actually something you learn. We had on Puteți a really wonderful woman. She works at Baker & McKenzie, and she said, I am specialized in Twitter. I know how to write, and within the limits I can feel it. I know how to use emojis. I know how to use my words and my characters so well that I know how to squish my message within that limit of, I don't know how many characters there are. So it is an art, basically, just like Instagram probably is. But basically, I think that's the main reason. It's not so visual. It's mostly about opinions and information. And, I think Romanians prefer more pictures and more, I don't know. I really don't know. Basically, that's it. You have more limitations on Twitter than you have on Instagram. And now with the fact-checking, it's even worse. I mean, it's from my opinion, it's very good, but it's worse from the people who want to maybe abuse the system. Because, for example, on Facebook, you can write whatever you want. And only now they were thinking of limiting and trying to keep fake news under control, and everything that has to do with politics and with trying those attempts to mass hysteria through news and articles and messages. But only on Twitter they were more proactive. And but that's interesting because, for example, American people don't necessarily have Facebook. So I think it was just all of them are on Twitter. They are overwhelmingly on Twitter, and they tweet about anything. But basically, they kind of shy away from Facebook. Maybe they were at one point I'm not very knowledgeable in the history of Facebook in America. I think Facebook was very widely spread in America at one point, and then they migrated all to Twitter, and now they're just there.
I might be wrong, but I think they're quite closer to what Facebook's actual, I guess, reason for being was, which is Facebook is for friends and family and staying among your group, the people that you actually know. Whereas for us in Romania, I mean, I don't know, I know what, 25% of my friends, 50% of my friend list on Facebook. And that's more of a reason from the earlier days of my Facebook profile, not so much of my more present days. But on Twitter, you can just tweet and everybody can join in on the conversation, and you don't really have to form a relationship with that person.
You can follow them.
Yeah, sure. But it's not like I'm friending you on Facebook, which is like a true connection. Like you have to accept every friend request that you get, and you get to see quite an intimate part of that person's life. You touched upon fake news and the way that the platforms get to censor speech and all that, and that's a really I guess a topic that really interests me. But I want to be mindful of your time. Do we still have a bit of a few minutes to delve into that?
Yeah, sure. I think we still have a good half of hour if you want.
Awesome.
So we have time to talk about Japan if you want. Animes, cats, dogs. I'm all into that.
Awesome. So talking about the way that social platforms have begun to, I guess, try to sort through all the garbage that is on the internet today, I personally think it's quite an impossible task, and I don't really want to be critical about them doing a good enough job or not. I know that Facebook, for instance, has literally tens of thousands of people that sort through the flags that you can, the fact that you can flag a post, and it goes through an automated or not process of being removed from Facebook. How do you view the fact that basically our public speech is in the hands of private companies? What should be and what are the restraints that we might put on such a power that they have? Yeah, I know. Sorry. I don't want to be like, Theodora, your opinion is now on the ballot.
It's validated, and this is not the official opinion of my law office.
There you go.
Which is actually comprised only of me. It's very difficult, because the freedom of speech should not be unlimited. You should have some form of liability for what you're saying. Sure. The platforms, there are other reasons for which the platforms do not want to intervene in this. Is because, with many people expressing their monstrosities sometimes, come a good deal of revenues, because these platforms live on the back of our data. Because I don't think it's every reasonable person here thinks that Facebook is just a not-for-profit organization. They use our data to provide personalized advertising, and clearly they use the money from advertising. So this is the main reason they shy away from limiting. They just are fearful of losing customers. They don't care about the democratic institutions and etc. Clearly, I don't think my freedom of expression or your freedom of expression would be in the hands of Mr. Zuckerberg. But on the other hand, sometimes the freedom of expression could harm some people. And I'm not talking now about those politically correct people that do not want to touch upon some form of subject or some form of topic for fear that someone on the other part of the globe would feel that... So what example to give you, because nowadays people are offended by everything. So I don't know, just imagine exactly. Just imagine a hot topic, which we cannot touch upon. So sometimes it is more than that. You can post violent content on Facebook, for example. and there are children that go
Sure.
on that. You can post some absolutely appalling scenes with a person traumatizing or killing an animal, which for me is absolutely, I cannot sleep that night when I see some sort of video like this. So you can have, the effects are they go deeper than just a scroll, and they go deeper than just an image, and there should be some form of censorship, but not by a private company. I expect at one point there would be an organizational authority that should be the social media authority, and some public employees should be perusing the platform, or maybe hopefully an AI should be perusing the platform and discerning which is acceptable content and which is not. Clearly, just because you delete the content from the internet, that does not make the world better. Those people violence is deeply rooted in a person, regardless of where they express that violence, be it in the virtual setup or being in the real setup. If you deprive them from the virtual settings, they might end up taking upon weapons and destroying the world. It's a very complicated thing to discern, and I think the only way and the only legitimate way would be for the state to intervene. But this comes with many problems, because just like you said, Facebook has some real people going through the news feed of people in the country and seeing, oh, this is wrong, this is okay, this is not okay. Well, you know what? It happened. Facebook is really limited, and actually not limited, is defined by the native language of a country. And maybe they have many English-speaking people
moderators
that go through the English narrative, the English messages, and they may have fewer in Romania. And there were some instances from some very small countries, very impoverished ones, and just because there were I think it was only 2 or 3 people in the whole Facebook that knew that language. Actually, they were natives from the country, and they were employed by Facebook, but they were just overwhelmed, and clearly they missed some messages. And then it was at one point a civil uprising that originated on Facebook, because people would say, look, I want to kill whoever, would you join me? Yes, I would. And me too, and me too, and me too. And that's how it created a virtual mass hysteria that had a spillover effect on the actual world. So to answer your question, I have no answer, apart from a public authority that would go through them. But the problem with these companies is that they are probably more powerful than many countries.
For sure.
And I would go as far as considering that they can even control massive and very well-respected countries, such as the US. I'm not going to go into any political discussion here, because I don't want to get some forks and sticks for this. But yeah, basically, this is the same in Romania. This is the same. Corruption is the same everywhere. It's just how you put it. Yep. In some countries, the politicians own the companies. In other countries, companies own the politicians. It's just back and forth with these two variables. Yeah. So yeah, you should be very mindful of what you're putting out there. What the social platform, what they are benefiting from is that what is called a sort of I would say social spirit. Let's say the community spirit. It's kind of like a living organism. Mm-hmm. There are some people who report bad stuff, for example, on Facebook. There are, because again, like I said, I'm very interested in protecting animal rights. And there are people who sell animals on Facebook Market, but in Romania, but they do not brand them, and they do not say, I'm selling one pig or one cow or whatever. They're saying, I'm selling woods and this is acceptable. And there are people actually who go through the Facebook market and report that because this is illegal. I mean, I don't think you're allowed to do that, to be selling living animals on Facebook market. And there are people who go through those advertisements and report. So yeah, basically, fake content, fake news is like a virus, and you have some very let's say very socially aware people who would be like the immune system, if you want, and they would, but you cannot always keep this under control. So you basically, that would be a good incentive. If you find some faulty content, you receive something from Facebook, for example. 1 star, and when 1 star amounting to something, 1 cent, $1, or some prerogatives that you could have. So if Facebook wants, it can control the community without actually controlling it per se. You could just pass the responsibility to the community. And there are many ways of doing that. But, we'll see. I think that the age of Wild West in terms of social media might come to an end soon. Twitter has already started fact-checking information, and it was really, really funny with the US elections when you would see people posting political messages that were not fact-checked, and it would be deleted by Twitter. And it's painful to watch sometimes, but it's necessary. I mean, all Spider-Man fans will probably recognize the quote, "With great power comes great responsibilities." That's applicable for the companies, and that's also applicable for us as individuals. Yeah, you are allowed to say whatever you want, but if, for example, if you write something on Facebook saying, if you don't think you're worthy to live, you should kill yourself, and someone reads that post and kills himself, maybe you should be indicted with and be accused of attempted murder, whatever you want to call it. But people are not well educated now to understand that there's no actual boundary between virtual and real. Just because you say something on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, doesn't mean you cannot be persecuted legally. I mean,
couldn't agree more.
by legal authority in real life. So this is something maybe our generation starts to understand. Some of them don't, but people older than us don't really understand that because they weren't raised with this and see the whole implications. For them, Facebook is just something for fun and would get in touch with some relatives. And some of them use the platform totally unnecessarily and faulty.
I think increasingly, and with this pandemic as well, the boundaries between what is, as you put it, reality and the virtual space is almost non-existent if we come to think about the amount of time that we spend in front of our screens. And even the older people are starting more and more to be engaged in these mediums. I remember, this is actually quite funny, when TikTok was starting to get trending, there was like a period of, I don't know, a month to 3 months where people were talking about the fact that TikTok was just for 12-year-olds that dance in front of the camera. And then it became like a huge politically international scandal about the way that the Chinese are controlling our kids. And then the pandemic came, and my dad installed TikTok and couldn't let it down. My mom was on TikTok. I noticed, like, just do this experiment. I don't want to, get you addicted to TikTok or anything, but download the app, give it like a good 5 minutes, like scroll through it for 5 minutes, and you will be absolutely shocked that you cannot put it down. The algorithm is just like magic. It's incredible. Like, do it like an actual experiment to see the amount of progress that these mediums have amounted to. It's quite...
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem, and usually that's not singular to TikTok. I think it's I don't use it, but I will do this experiment and
but just like an experiment, then delete it forever. Like never touch it again, please. It's scary. I'm telling you, it's really scary.
Yeah, but this is also applicable for other social media platforms, and I think it's especially for Facebook and Instagram. It's all. Excuse me, I have a feline companion here. They're just jumping all over here. If you sometimes see me looking other ways, just because they're jumping all around. And yeah, the algorithm is made to engage you and actually to make you addicted. They are researchers, and they made some researches, and they saw people in the companies saw that what the chemicals the brain secretes when receiving a message or having a notification from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from whatever, are the same. Actually, I think it's serotonin. It's the same with the chemical. It's actually the chemical of happiness. So you just experience the same thing as hugging a good friend of yours or a relative, or being awarded the prize. And that speaks volumes of how easily manipulated people are usually. The less educated you are in terms of media literacy, again, I know many people who are absolutely brilliant people, but their media literacy is not to the standards of the media nowadays. And this is not something to be, I still learning how to discern fake news from real news, and how to know how to put down a damn phone after a few minutes, because they should be the tool. They should not be controlling us. We should be controlling them. But the people in the companies intentionally do that to us, and actually there are task force and teams that research how to make us more addicted to the platform. And we should understand that this is just clearly now with the pandemic, many people were stuck in their homes, and it was a good way of linking, to other human beings, because like it or not, we are social animals. We evolved in groups, and actually I've never been a very social person myself. I always liked my quiet place, inner peace type. But with this pandemic, and again, I'm living with 3 cats and another person under the same roof. But again, when I go out after weeks, for example, I'm very happy to see another human being or another animal. Actually, I'm more happy to see the animal than the human being. But nonetheless, I'm happy to see other living creatures. Sure. And this is what they're building on. They're building on our necessity, on our let's say probably genetic requirement to be in touch with people. And there they are. They're not a very billion, million. I think they're $1 trillion company right now. So, yeah.
Wow.
Kudos to the ones who are thinking about this. I'm kind of little envious on them, but what can I say?
So I was thinking about how could we segue to animes, but I've never done this before, but I was thinking about starting. So what would you say if I were to ask you to recommend to myself as well and to our audience a book, an anime, and a cool website that they might check out? It could be a blog, or it could be something, I don't know, whatever, a game browser-based type of deal. So a book, an anime. I don't want to have you recommend a movie, so specifically an anime.
And also a movie.
No, not a movie.
Oh,
no,
okay.
Just specifically an anime, not a movie.
Okay. Well, I think my favorite anime is... Do you want a boy anime or a girl anime? Shoujo or shinji?
I have no idea.
There are two types.
No, I actually didn't. so I guess let's say a boy anime. Yeah.
Boy
Are those in the category of like action and?
Well, boy anime, you think of Naruto, for example. Lots of battles, Dragon Ball Z. Or
One Punch Man would be a
so...
boy anime as well, I guess.
Sorry?
One Punch Man. Do you know One Punch Man?
Yeah, I think, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I think yes. If I were to choose, actually, I would recommend Death Note.
Okay.
It's well, for the people who are not really familiar with the story. It's just about a guy who is absolutely brilliant, and he is visited by the death god. He can kill everyone whom he sees. He has to see the face. At one point, being very smart, he was hard to catch, but at one point, a very brilliant detective, let's say, tailed him. And well, I won't spoil anything, but it's fun, and it's usually it's for boys and for girls as well. I mean, it's not the type of, it's very dramatic, it's very goth type. It's not the type of Naruto, for example, which I would also recommend. And it's classic, you know. It makes you feel like a child when you see it. But it's more intense. Death Note is more intense. And if any girl wants to ask me what I would recommend as a girl anime, I would probably recommend Nana, and also probably Honey and Clover. And then again, they're girlish, they're easy, and actually they have no magical things happening. Always in animes you have something magical happening, ninjutsu or a god or whatever, but they're just plain reality, and that's it. Okay, so now this is with the anime.
Yeah. Let's linger on the anime side a bit more, because what I really want to stress is the fact that in Japan, animes are like something that the general public, no matter the age, consume. They're a type of medium that are for, like, I don't know, 10-year-olds, but also 70-year-olds. So it's not like, I'm watching cartoons, and cartoons are just for kids.
They have many lessons to learn, actually.
Yeah.
And there are many people who still say that Naruto was their best teacher in terms of life lessons, from what friendship means, from what loyalty means. Being a boy is not necessarily touching upon romantic feelings, but nonetheless, it touches upon so many aspects that you can learn as a person. And actually, Death Note, again, although the main character is a villain, you can sympathize with him. It's very well created. It was considered one of the best animes ever, just because you can sympathize with the character, and you can actually feel bad for him when something bad happens. Not spoilers, but nonetheless. So I would understand why people consider that they are timeless.
Sure. Awesome. So what about the book? Maybe? Or the site?
The book. Well, I absolutely love Mr. Harari.
Okay.
Noah Harari with the Sapiens and Homo Deus. And I think I like both these two books. Sapiens, it puts things under perspective, in the sense that you understand that you're just one little piece of a very big mechanism, that you are imperfect, perfectible, you, as a species. And we are just, it gives you more respect to the planet and to other living creatures around us. And I don't know if he intended it to be this way, but actually makes you want to be more in tune with whatever happens around you. And also Homo Deus, because, well, it speaks about the future, it speaks about the bad part of humans in general, speaks of industrialization, speaks of abusing animals for something to put on the plate.
Algorithms as well.
Yes, destroying the planet as we know it. And it actually puts this question forward: how we eventually just excuse me for a moment.
Sure.
I was trying to catch the little rascal, but he won't come. He will just discuss about where we're heading. And I also the little rascal here.
Oh, what's his name? Or her name? His name?
His name is Jackie. And he is the most, lovable and squishable and love bug creature ever. Okay, so this is with the books. And with the website, well, this is very difficult. I mean, it depends on the topic. If we were to talk about legal tech, I would recommend Legal Evolution. It was created by Bill Anderson, and he was also a teacher of ours at the series. And actually, they managed to gather so many people. So this is one website. But if you want, I don't know, again,
that's awesome. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, again, I would also recommend websites from Greenpeace and World Wildlife Fund, because they talk about many important stuff. They about planet and animals and biodiversity, something which we all should be well aware of. I'm actually discovering websites each day, so I'm still thinking of recommending, pinpointing one in particular. But yeah, those are very well chosen.
Super nice. Awesome. So where can people find you? Where can people find and read the blog?
Well, the blog, C Legal Tech. It's called C Legal Tech blog. You will find it by no question about it. I'm available on Facebook. I'm available on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Although my Instagram profile is full of pictures of nature and my cats, and also on Twitter. I'm not very engaged so far, but I'm still working my way up to being a real tweet specialist, let's say. And also my law office is present on all these platforms, and the blog is also present on all the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also on Medium. So yeah, you have many ways of reaching me.
Awesome.
And I'm available to discuss about basically everything, but mostly about the topics I already touched upon.
Super nice. And I'm sure these topics, like, I feel that we're never going to get to I don't know, fully explore them. Mm-hmm. There are always going to be new avenues that we haven't explored.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that this is just Theodora Stoica 1 in the Noletter podcast archives.
1.0, yeah.
1.0, yeah.
It's really nice to discuss with people about these ideas. And again, if I manage to bring some new piece of information to someone who's interested, that would be very, very happy. And again, I'm always available to discussing whatever, including space travel. Also the TV series. If you want, I can recommend some very, very good ones.
Okay, sure. I'm into that as well.
Yeah, Stargate.
Stargate?
Yes, I love Stargate.
Okay.
Actually, they kind of grew into me, but at the beginning I wasn't very receptive. And my boyfriend was like, just give it a chance, and you won't regret it. And now I'm just like addicted to the series. So yeah. So Sherlock, the BBC series is absolutely brilliant. If you want some sitcom, Big Bang Theory, smart and sassy and funny as well. So yeah, you have many
I think you mentioned nowadays. Rick and Morty as well, right? Rick and Morty?
No, I haven't, but I do like it. I don't think I have seen it all. I've seen some sporadic episodes, but yeah, it's funny. And actually, Rick is one of a kind.
Yeah.
And I think there's more subtext to that than meets the eyes.
Exactly. I really feel like the writers are geniuses, like actual geniuses, because they have the show has this facade of like ridiculousness, but underneath that is like true gold and true, I don't know, scientific wonder and exploration and philosophical ideas that are so dense, like incredibly dense. And if you were to just look at it like passing by the TV of someone that was watching it, had no idea what they're looking at, you would think like, oh my God, what are you watching? Are you going through?
That's too out there. I think that was the point.
Yeah,
to be too out there. And the same is with the South Park. I'm not really a big fan, but I know there's again so much subtext in that TV shows that meets the eyes. But again, if you like moral dilemma and lots of scientific stuff and lots of humor, I would absolutely recommend Stargate SG-1. I mean, it's gold. It's timeless gold.
Awesome.
And you won't regret it.
Awesome.
And there are so many seasons, but you won't be bored.
Theodora, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Again, I'm sure that we'll get to do this some other time as well. And I don't know, have an awesome day and see you soon.
Thank you, you too. Thank you for having me. And let me again allow you to say goodbye to this charming young fellow.
See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Acest podcast este prezentat de Noletter.com, o platformă dedicată profesioniștilor mediului juridic. Comunicați cele mai importante documente către instanțele de judecată și organizați-vă activitatea alături de colegi și clienți. Cu Noletter beneficiați de termene de judecată și soluții sincronizate cu portalul instanțelor, dosare stocate în cloud, iar integritatea documentelor poate fi verificată cu ajutorul tehnologiei blockchain. Documentele comunicate către instanțele partenere sunt adăugate automat la dosarul electronic. Aflați mai multe și înregistrați un cont gratuit pe Noletter.com, iar ascultătorii podcastului pot obține un discount de 10% din prețul abonamentului Pro folosind voucherul Podcast 10 la plata cu cardul.